Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 17 of Own the Road with AutoTrader, where we make car stuff simple for Canadians. My name is Jodi, and I'm the editor-in-chief of AutoTrader.
And I am the road test editor of AutoTrader, Dan Alika. See, I did it the other way.
Thank
I like
you.
to mix it up. You always do it the same way.
Consistency, my friend.
We could break up that intro and just like, you could replace it. You could like plug and play. Joseph could be editing them and your outfit would change, but your cadence would be the same across what is this, episode 17?
Yes.
17 times. Exactly the same.
I'm a big fan of consistency. But we have back on the show Jen Gray.
Hey,
she
guys.
is our ice racing extraordinaire.
Yes. Hey, guys. My name's Jen. I race cars in the winter on the ice, and I'm also a performance driving coach.
And we love Jen, so we're welcoming
you.
her
Love
back
you
to the
too.
show. So winter is coming, unfortunately, so it's about time to refresh your skills and knowledge when it comes to winter driving, because once that first snowfall hits, literally everybody forgets how to drive.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
And so because Jen is basically an expert at winter driving, she's going to be sharing some winter driving tips with you all today, kind of translating like what you've learned on the ice track into real life.
Yep.
So yeah, the show's yours. Go for
Awesome.
it.
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing that ice racing has taught me is that, come prepared, first of all. So I come prepared in ice racing, always thinking about stuff, but you can do kind of the same thing, just normal driving on the road. So in my car, I have a lot of random stuff that I throw into the back when winter hits. Obviously, you need your snow brush. Don't be that person that gets onto the highway and
They're
is
the worst
clouding
people in
me
the
when we get
world.
on.
Yeah,
I
They're
there's
know.
like
actually
a cake of snow on
terrible
top.
I
human
know.
beings.
It takes 5 minutes, guys.
And
Come
it's
on.
also illegal.
It is,
You can
yes.
get a
You can get a
ticket, and it's
ticket.
not an
Yeah.
inexpensive one.
No.
Like it's like a couple $100 for not clearing off your
Yep.
car. Anyways.
Yep. So yeah, step one, clear off your car. You can have it warming up at the same time. Who wants to get into a cold car? You might as well be doing something else.
My car warms up so much quicker when that happens because my
Yeah.
blood is just boiling.
yeah. You're just thinking about it.
The steam is like coming out of
Oh
your
my
ears.
god, the windows get foggy because
Yeah,
I'm so
you're just so
fired up
fired
about
up.
it.
That is one of my pet peeves for sure.
I know. Yeah. So yeah, snow brush, step one for sure. Step two, I know it sounds kind of stupid, but I carry this small little shovel in my car. Actually, you can get them just at like Walmart, Canadian Tire. Some of them even fold up. I've seen. You can probably get one on Amazon or whatever. But just a mini shovel. It's always the worst when the plow goes by your house and just after you've shoveled the driveway. And so many people, including myself, I have done this, got stuck going out of your driveway. And the easiest way to kind of unstuck yourself is to just shovel kind of around your tires and get
Totally.
out. So I carry a little shovel as well. And then obviously kind of just have your emergency kit, jumper cables. I have like a blanket and some warm clothes just in case you ever get stranded. And on that note, actually, always make sure your gas is filled up. You never know if you're going to be kind of parked on the side of the road. You need heat, you need warmth. Same goes for windshield washer fluid. That's also the worst when you're on the highway and there's slush everywhere and you can't see. Visibility is usually tough as it is in the winter, so give yourself the best chance. That's kind of what I say. Come prepared, and you're never going to be over prepared. You might as well have all that stuff in your car, and worst case scenario, you're kind of prepared for everything. So that's like step one for me. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so be prepared is a really important
Yes.
one. How important are winter tires?
So winter tires are a huge factor in winter driving, in my opinion. Obviously, it kind of translates to ice racing as well. We're always playing around with tires and tire pressures. You wouldn't be doing that as much with normal driving, but investing in good winter tires is a very crucial part of winter driving. A lot of people think that they can get away with their summer tires or even all seasons, but honestly, like the winters that we get up here in Canada, that's usually not cutting it. So same thing with being prepared. Give yourself the best possible chance. Winter tires do make a huge difference, even though it's sometimes a bit of an investment. They're good for a few years, and yeah, give yourself the least hassle when you're driving.
Yeah,
My biggest like controversial opinion when it comes to winter is I think all of Canada should have mandatory winter tires, like not just Quebec.
Honestly, yeah.
Because it's such a game changer.
It is.
And the first time, anytime people I know that don't drive with winter tires, the first time they do, they're like, oh my god,
This
Yeah.
is what I've been
This is-
missing.
Yeah,
it's
they
crazy.
understand it. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
No,
like the
it
difference
does.
is huge. And like even if you have all-wheel drive, and we talk about this all the time on the podcast.
I think we did a whole episode about this.
Even if you have all-wheel drive, you still need winter
Yeah.
tires because why, Jen?
Yes, because all-wheel drive is all-wheel drive, but not all-wheel stop. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the only time all-wheel drive is really going to be a huge advantage in the winter is if you're kind of stuck or if you're trying to like you need more power to get out of something. But if you're just cruising, it's really not that much of an advantage. If you start to slide, the same thing's going to happen in a rear-wheel or front-wheel drive car as well. So people kind of have that misconception that if they're driving a big truck with four-wheel drive that they're immune to the winter conditions. But
Those
they're
are the
not.
people more often than not that you see like
Yes,
ripping
just
down the
bombing down.
road when
Yeah.
it's like so dangerous and you're like, man, but those are also the people that you invariably see in the
I was going to
ditch,
say,
too,
up
like-
the road, you're going, yep, saw that one coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so honestly, just drive with caution. I know it's kind of hard sometimes, and people are always in a rush these days, but ultimately, there's never enough of a rush that needs you to risk your life. So just slow it down. Everything going slower is always better. It gives you more reaction time.
Yeah.
So yeah, slow it down, calm it down. There's no rush. And if the weather is too bad, I've done this before. If you genuinely can't see anything and it's getting scary, just pull off the road, get off the highway, and sit on your phone for 5 minutes. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. Wait for it to clear up because yeah, it could be the difference between life and death. And no one likes to crash their car either. Just slow it down and yeah, be safe.
So speaking of crashing, I know a lot of people are scared about what to do when their car spins out because
Yes.
at that point it's like it's hard to figure out how to save it or like what to do. So what's the right thing to do when you spin out and what's the absolute wrong thing to do?
Yeah, so the thing about like sliding and spinning on the road, the negative part about it is that most people, luckily I guess, haven't really experienced a car sliding or spinning, especially newer drivers. So people don't really know what it feels like. So obviously with anything in life, if we have no experience doing something, it's confusing and we don't know what it's like. So if you don't know what to do or you've never felt a car kind of coming around on you, then you're kind of overthinking it and you're thinking of so many things at once and you're trying to go back to what everyone has told you about, what to do, steer into the skid, like all these common phrases that happen. But my first word of advice, and it's kind of hard to say, but just be calm when you feel your car start to slide. It's obviously hard. People obviously start to panic, but keep it calm. Smooth inputs. If you're smooth on the gas and smooth on the brake and smooth on your steering, it's ultimately going to be better for you in the long run. A lot of people panic and slam on the brakes, which is number one bad thing to do, because ultimately when you're a lot of people think that when you're sliding they want to bring the car to a stop as quickly as possible. They want the slide to be done, they want to be stopped safely and slowed down, which obviously you do want to do, but people have the instinct to just slam on the brakes, which is actually going to be worse for you because you're going to lock up all your wheels and then you're going to continue sliding, but you actually don't even have any rotation at that point, so you're just going to keep laterally sliding essentially. So if you do need to brake, pump the brakes, be more smooth on the brakes, and same with the steering and gas, honestly. You shouldn't need to touch the gas unless you're kind of trying to steer into the skid, which is another common tip that people explain, which is kind of hard to wrap your head around until you feel it, but whichever direction your car is kind of turning, if you're starting to slide to the left, you want to steer into it so that it kind of counteracts the slide and you're kind of putting yourself more forward again. And if you feel experienced enough and you're in like a rear wheel drive car, which is probably the easiest car to do it in, if you give it a tiny touch on the throttle just to kind of straighten yourself back out, that can be helpful. But don't start slamming on the brakes, slamming on the gas, or like grabbing the steering wheel like a madman. Just be smooth, and ultimately if you're starting to go around in a circle, just let it happen. Sometimes it's better to just do that than to fight the car, because most of the time if it's too far gone, you're not going to save it anyway. So just try to do it as smooth and safe as possible while avoiding everything else.
Yeah,
Sure.
see, that's a big one because the instinct is to slam on the brakes.
Yes,
but
it
again,
is.
that is like the absolute thing that you don't want to do. And don't pull the e-brake.
No, nothing fancy. You're not Ken Block. You're not drifting. Don't worry.
The other thing I say, like a lot of friends that are like, oh, paddle shifters are so dumb. And most
Yeah.
people don't use them, but it's actually great for engine braking. It's a
It
great
is.
way in the wintertime that you can slow your vehicle down
Yes.
without having to use the mechanical brakes. And that mitigates the risk of locking things up and
Yes.
sliding because you're just using the engine to slow things down.
Exactly. And also if you feel comfortable enough and you're comfortable enough with your car, and if you're especially on a downhill, if you feel like, excuse me, you're able to comfortably throw it into neutral, that's also a good strategy, especially if you're trying to, like I said, stop on a downhill and you're sliding. It just prevents the gears from continuing to turn, because ultimately you're kind of fighting against the car at that point. When you're braking, the engine's still kind of trying to go if you're in gear. So
my only thing with the neutral strategy is that, once things kind of like, let's say it's that risk, right, where
Yes.
things start to get sideways and you can kind of power out of it, and so I'm always like, it works for some people. I personally don't like to use that one because when you need power, it can often be too late.
I usually only tell people the neutral thing, like, when you're trying to come to a stop while going downhill, if you're like sliding and spinning, neutral isn't really, like you said, a useful strategy. Just because if you need to get back on the power, or if there's a car coming at you or something, if you can't comfortably and quickly get it back into
you
gear.
hit the gas not remembering that you've put it in neutral, and nothing happens and you panic
and you're confused.
Exactly. Yeah, the only time I've used neutral is if I'm on a steep downhill and I feel like I'm not gonna make that stop sign. That's pretty much the only useful neutral strategy. But
So what should someone do if they're going uphill and they start to slide backwards because they don't have enough power? So like, A, how do you avoid that situation? And B, what do you do if you're already there?
Yeah, so going uphill is tricky, especially if the roads are slippery. So you need to obviously have enough momentum and get a bit of a run at it to get up the hill, but you can also somewhat shoot yourself in the foot sometimes doing that, because if you are going up there too fast and you're still trying to spin your tires and keep the momentum, but if you start sliding, then there's kind of really nothing you can do to save it at that point. And if you do start sliding back down, I mean, I guess step one is to pray that there's no one behind you, but I mean, I guess they're probably also sliding backwards too. But just keeping kind of steady throttle up a hill is usually what I try to do. Don't try and like give it enough gas that you're just like spinning so hard. You don't need to like gun it up a hill. You just need to keep consistent throttle. That's kind of what's helped me over the years. Keep consistent and smooth throttle up the hill, and try not to panic if your car starts sliding down. But at that point, same as I said before, just steady on the brakes and no major erratic inputs on anything with that.
Yeah, and you mentioned before, like when somebody is in the process of like spinning out, that like looking where you want to go is super important. So can you just tell us again, like why?
Yeah, so target fixation is a huge thing that people don't realize, that we all as humans naturally do this. So in pretty much any form of driving, including racing, I've learned this a lot from a lot of people. You always want to be looking pretty far ahead, like out to the horizon almost, while you're driving, because ultimately where you're looking and where you're putting your hands is where you're going to be going. So if you're starting to slide and you're on the highway and you're looking at the wall or you're looking at a guardrail, because in your head you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I don't want to hit that, like I got to avoid it. But if you're looking at it, your hands are naturally going to bring you over to that wall or that guardrail, or heaven forbid, another car. So when you're spinning or sliding, don't look at where you don't want to go. Look at where you do want to go. So look at whatever clear space you have in front of you, and naturally your body will just instinctually follow that. Even on the road when I'm driving, sometimes I'll be like looking at the scenery or whatever, and you do start to go. It's funny when you kind of think about it, and
it's also
natural.
interesting for people that don't do that, and you say, okay, look at the other side of this turn. Like, let's say you're on a nice winding road, and that moment when they realize, like, oh my God, like I kind of just unconsciously like followed the curve of the road. It does work. It's
really crazy too. Like I'll tell another story, because when I was learning to drive a motorcycle, and I'm not very good at riding a motorcycle, so that's why I don't do it anymore. But when I was learning, I remember I was like looking at a fence, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to crash into the fence. Oh my God. And then as soon as I took a breath and like centered myself, and then I looked where I wanted to go, I feel like I wasn't even in control of my body. My body just did it on its own. And so like I would really advise people, I know it sounds crazy, but like not to panic. Like don't panic, because it will just make you make worse decisions.
Yes, it will. Yeah, just keeping calm in those situations, and ultimately sometimes you just have to accept it. If it's too far gone, there's no point in fighting it. It's going to make it worse for you. So yeah, looking ahead and keeping that kind of focus and avoid distractions as much as possible, especially when winter driving, is also helpful. I know we all love to listen to our music and chat with our passenger, but especially in like a winter storm condition, try and keep focused as much as possible and look far ahead, especially if you're on like a busy road with other cars, because there could be an incident like super far ahead. And if you're just looking at the car in front of you, by the time he brakes for the accident, it's going to be too late. So keep aware and looking ahead always is pretty much kind of the biggest tip that I can offer, which is a big thing in racing as well.
And what about following distance? I see this a lot when I'm driving in the winter, and it drives me bananas because it's so unsafe.
Yeah, so that's another big one is in the winter, I generally give people a lot more room than I normally would. You should be giving people enough room anyways, but yeah, back it up, probably double, honestly, than what you normally would. And same with even braking distance. Like if you're coming up to a light, give yourself enough room to brake. You don't know what's under the snow. It could be black ice. So yeah, extend all of your distances behind cars and your braking distances. Give yourself as good of a chance as possible to make an evasive maneuver if you have to. So yeah, keeping your distance is a big one. Don't be that person on the highway that's right there the whole time, because ultimately, you're just going to make it worse for yourself if something, and everyone else around you, if something were to happen.
Another thing that I tend to do more in the wintertime, that I do anyways, like year round, but as I'm like, let's say you're coming up to a light or a stop sign, as I'm slowing down, I'm also looking in my rearview mirror to see how the person behind me is reacting, because that way you can react and pull yourself out of the situation if you're like, oh man, this person is not going to stop in time, because of those follow distances and how much more time you need to stop. Means the person behind you also needs that extra time to stop, right?
Yeah, I've done that a lot of times, like at a light where and I'll have to like turn right at the last minute because like I don't want to.
They're not going to stop.
Yeah. So unfortunately, you can prepare yourself as much as possible, but you can't control what everyone else is going to be doing. You can just hope for the best. But at least if you're prepared and you're always aware, checking your mirrors constantly is a good one as well. And just being super aware of your surroundings is huge, because that might make a huge difference when you have to avoid someone else's stupid mistake.
Yeah, for sure. Like whenever I'm driving and I see that somebody is like aggressively tailing me, especially if it's in the winter, the petty part of me is like, I'm just going to slow down even more. But I always just get out of the way, because like if they're acting that foolish, I don't want them to rear end me. Like I don't know what their driving level or their skills are like. So I just get out of the way. I'm like, you act a fool on your own. Like don't bring me into this.
Exactly. We all get that. We all have road rage and those moments where you just want to like look at someone and make their life more annoying too. But ultimately, like what I was saying, you're just going to make it worse for yourself. And if something happens, then you're going to think, wow, why didn't I just get out of the way or let him go? Like, people are stupid. But as long as you're kind of thinking for yourself and being safe, then that's the best you can do.
And winter tires again. Always winter tires. It's such a different
tires.
Like no matter what situation you're in. I've never had a situation in the winter where I'm like, like the tires didn't matter. Like it's always, because whether you're trying to stop or whether you're trying to get traction, you're trying to put power down, like you were talking about those scenarios of going up a hill, chances are, the tires will make a difference, and you're going to be able to get that traction and make your way up the hill.
Huge difference. It'll give you a lot more traction, a lot more grip. Those tires they've been engineered and tested for that purpose. It's specifically for winter driving. So trust those engineers. They know what they're doing, and it does make a huge difference for sure.
And for me, I talked about it on another episode, but I don't drive my personal car that much anyways, like year round. So I bought all-weather tires, which are a great option for people who, if affordability is a problem, the switch between, winter and all-season tires a couple times a year. All-weather tires are winter rated, so they're mountain snowflake rated. And they offer kind of the best of both worlds. No, it's not a pure winter tire, but it is winter rated. The rubber compound is softer. It's got a lower freezing point. So it is a great option.
It's a great option for people on a budget, but also if you do get winter tires, it extends the life of your summer tires by double, right?
For sure.
So that's also, if the cost is holding
it's always
you up,
silly, but that's if people just want one set of tires, because I understand that was for me, the sell was like, look, I drive my car maybe a couple thousand kilometers a year, and I'm spending time in the spring and in the fall switching my tires over, and it just feels like such a waste. So all weathers, and I've had them for a couple years now, and they're fantastic.
Awesome.
Nokian G4s, I think. They're amazing.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you mentioned you also ice race with your dad.
Yes.
So is there anything that like he's learned in his stint in racing that he's now applying to his regular winter driving?
Yeah, so I think my dad, like he's obviously older, so he's had a lot more driving experience than me. So he actually taught me a lot of things about kind of general winter driving, and which applied to ice racing as well. But I think his takeaway from ice racing this year was that he just tries to hammer on the gas too much, and he realizes this, and he just gets too excited and wants to go fast, but he realizes that all that does is cause the wheels to keep spinning. So like I was saying earlier, if you're going to try and hammer on the throttle, like if you're trying to get out of a situation where you're stuck in the snow or going up a hill, it's really not going to help you that much. It's honestly probably going to make things worse. If you're stuck somewhere, you're just going to dig yourself deeper into the snow, or if you're going up a hill, you might start sliding. So keeping those inputs smooth and slower than you'd even think, and smooth on the throttle, smooth acceleration, is definitely probably something that he took away from it, and I think he'll definitely apply that to street driving as well. But he's super capable, and I'm super lucky that he's taught me a lot of stuff too.
Perfect.
The winter.
It's funny because in racing you think that the goal is to be as fast as possible,
Yes.
but it's not really true. It's about you want to be as smooth as possible.
Yeah. So smooth is fast. That's kind of what we say in racing, and sometimes slower is faster as well. So if you're coming into a corner, this applies for winter or summer racing. A lot of people try and go in super fast, but then they don't realize that they suffer coming out of the corner because you've scrubbed all that speed that you had going in because you went in a little bit too hot, and then you kind of have to slow it down in the place that you should already be prepared to speeding it up. So yeah, braking a little bit earlier than you normally would can sometimes give you a better exit, or just slowing it down in general. Like I find that me with ice racing on the days when the weather's super cold and the ice is super slippery, going slower is also going to be a lot more difficult skill-wise to be fast while you're going slow, but it's ultimately going to be better in the long run, and you're going to be faster. And the guys always are coming up to me saying, like, how are you driving around us? I'm like, you guys are sitting there like spinning your tires, I'm just coasting around you like nice and slow. So sometimes slower is faster. Most of the time slower is faster, and especially on the street, there's no reason that you'd have to be like slamming on the brakes, slamming on the gas at any point. Slow acceleration is going to prevent wheel spin and essentially not spinning out. So
those are also the people that you can kind of take comfort in laughing, like when you end up at the next light together, and you're like,
spot.
it's like
For
you were
what?
driving like a maniac and you got nowhere. Speed limits are a big one for me, and it's like even yesterday on the way home, this area near my house, it's a 50 zone. I just do like 56 or so, and there was this guy, and he was like right on me, and then when he finally made his left, he like honked at me, like I'm like, come on, man,
So rude.
like it's just people are
For
so
what?
impatient,
I
and
know.
it's like just we're all going.
all doing the
place.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's kind of the biggest one that just be calm, slow down. No need to fight with people on the street. Everyone has enough problems in their life. So yeah.
So what's your biggest tip for if somebody is stuck?
Yeah, so being stuck is kind of the worst thing that can happen in the winter, and the most annoying thing, that's for sure. So if you're finding yourself in a situation where kind of actually preparation or like insight is probably the better word, is kind of key. So if you are turning down a road that isn't plowed yet, or trying to go into a parking lot that has maybe just been plowed but the entrance still has a bunch of snow, the best decision sometimes is to just not go down it, even though it's kind of annoying and you might have to adjust your route. My recommendation is, especially if you have like a front wheel drive car or on summer tires and you don't really have much of a chance at that point, just find an alternate route. Other tip, like I said earlier, I keep a shovel in my car just for this reason. If you need to quickly get out and kind of make yourself a little path, do that. Or in the case that you do get stuck, shoveling around all your tires is going to give you a better chance as well. The less snow that's around you to kind of sink you down into is the better. So That's probably my biggest tip. Like I said, too, if you're trying to get out, don't just keep hammering on the gas because you're essentially just going to put yourself more into the snow. Sometimes going reverse and forward, kind of rocking back helps. But if you're in a point where it's kind of point of no return, you're either going to need a buddy to come help push you out. Or like I said, the shovel is probably going to give you the best chance at that point. Yeah.
That's another really good one because I feel like people automatically, when they're stuck, they're just hammering on the throttle, but it really makes it worse because you're just digging yourself deeper.
Any traction, like any surface that you had to get traction, you're just
you're
eating it up.
Eating the grip away.
And then you're also like, especially in a car, that's low to the ground anyways, you're just like sinking. So even once you get traction, if there's all kinds of snow and the belly pan's just scraping along, like you're not going anywhere.
No, you're going lower. Yeah. And same with, honestly, keeping on that note, like if you are kind of almost out and you just keep slamming on the gas, be mindful that when you do get traction and you do hook up onto the pavement, you're going to shoot ahead because you're full on the throttle. Your car is like maxed out on the rev limiter, and just be mindful that when you do start to feel yourself coming out of the snow and getting unstuck, kind of let off a little bit just so that you don't shoot ahead once you hit pavement.
Although I do have actually another tip that we can throw out there is in a situation, only when you're stuck, turn off traction control. And a lot of people don't do that. And then they're like, why? I'm losing power, but it's because, your vehicle is designed that when you're starting to slip, it's going to restrict power. So if you shut that off, hold it down. Most vehicles, if you hold the button down for 3 to 5 seconds, you'll defeat all the systems, and that'll allow you to continue to spin because sometimes that is all it takes. But before you do that, get out and assess the situation. That's always
don't make it worse at the beginning.
So if you get out and you see, I can do it, I just need a little bit more skinny pedal, go for it, but turn off traction control.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so the other thing is that it's really nice to get the experience so you can feel what sliding feels like before it's too late.
Yes.
And so you also instruct ice racing.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
so I'm an instructor for ice racing, so I kind of help the rookies come in and learn their car and give them any tips that I have. But there's also a car control school that runs right next to us. So if you don't really want to get into racing per se, because I know that's not for everyone, and you just kind of want to practice car control skills and what it's like to slide with your own vehicle in a controlled setting, definitely, shoot me a message. I can connect you with those people, and I'll be instructing as well for a couple different car schools this winter. But most areas around Ontario have their own winter driving programs, so that'd probably be another one of my biggest tips, is to just go out, spend the money to take a course. If anything, even if you don't think that there's any kind of tips that you want to take away from it from the instructors, at least you can go out and in a controlled setting try what it's like to slide your car. It's also fun, so you'll go have fun doing it,
and it's probably cheaper than an insurance deductible.
Yes, it is. So go give yourself the best chance, prepare yourself, and go see what it's like to slide the car, because until you're in that situation, you don't know what it's like. And then when you're in that emergency situation, you have that extra added panic. So at least if you already have felt what it feels like and you kind of know, it reduces that panic and gives you a lot more confidence. So
perfect.
That's a big recommendation.
And how can people get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me via Instagram. I'm just Jen Gray with 2 underscores at the end on Instagram. You can also reach out to me via email. It's jen@grayautomotivegroup.com. And just shoot me any questions. If you want to get into ice racing, I'm running a program this year with rental cars. So if you want to try your hand at that, you want to just learn winter driving in general, I'm your girl.
Very cool.
Perfect.
All right, well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so
again.
much, guys. Yeah,
We
this is
appreciate
awesome.
it.
Yeah, thanks
Great.
so much.
So thank you so much. And thank you for all of you guys for joining us on episode 17 of Own the Road with AutoTrader. We'll catch you next episode.
Bye.